Okay, welcome back to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host Alex here to bring you another pick and prediction video. We've got the fourth and final CFP first round pick and prediction video here. We got Alabama visiting Oklahoma. Game's gonna be in Norman, 8 o'clock kickoff. It's the last game I'm doing, but it's actually the first game of the weekend. It's gonna be tomorrow night, Friday night game in Norman. The spread in this one, if you've been watching, been bouncing all over the place. It opened with Alabama as a 1.5 point favorite, then has dipped down to Oklahoma being a 1.5 point favorite. I saw it go, some books go back to Bama as a favorite, and now today, Thursday night, OU is back as a favorite. So if you're interested in this game, stay tuned tomorrow morning, afternoon to see where this line ends up at. But I'm catching it now at Oklahoma as a 1.5 point favorite. So how did these teams get here? Alabama, they had the rocky start to the season. They go to Tallahassee, lose to Florida State in the game they didn't look ready to play. So they lose that game, you're thinking Alabama's going to be an afterthought. But they regrouped and they rattled off 4 straight ranked wins. Tennessee, Georgia, Vandy, Missouri. So you think things are right with Alabama. They're cruising along, they're moving along. Now comes the revenge game. Oklahoma's coming to Tuscaloosa. Oklahoma whipped Alabama last season, so revenge game, and doesn't happen. Oklahoma beats Bama 23-21 in a game that Bama turned the ball over 3 times and really should probably had turned it over even more than that. So they don't get the revenge, but they regroup still. They finish first atop the SEC standings, get to the SEC championship game, and they get thumped by Georgia 28-7. But to be honest, Alabama had a lot of guys out for that game. Oklahoma, how did they get here? They finished the year 10-2. Had a strong start to the, first off, they go into the transfer portal and they get John Mateer. I believe he was the top quarterback in the transfer portal in last year's offseason, right? They get Mateer in. He looks good the first 5 weeks of the season. He hurts his hand. He comes back against Texas in the Red River rivalry, and I don't know, was the competition stiffen up or something like that, or is his hand really affecting him? But he didn't look good in that game. They got dominated in the loss 23-6 to Texas. And the offense hasn't really looked good since. They lost another game to Ole Miss at home. No shame there, though. Ole Miss, pretty strong team. But they lose that game, but then they regroup again, and they win. They beat Alabama. They beat LSU. They beat Tennessee on the road. Oklahoma, they don't look pretty, but they got out of anybody in the college football playoff, they have the best wins. In my opinion, they have the best resume because they have the best wins of any team in the playoff. So, anyways, that's how that's how both these teams got here. Now let's take a look at the matchup analysis between both of these teams. So we look at Alabama's offense. If you watch Bama play this season, you already know what they're about. They're about the passing game. Ty Simpson, top 20 in explosive plays through the air. Wide receiver room, Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, one of the top wide receiver duos in the country. You throw Isaiah Horton in there, you got one of the deepest wide receiver room in the country that creates mismatches. And they're efficient, 29th in EPA. Now I'm going to point this out. Ty Simpson, explosive plays, EPA, success rate, all of that, it's kind of slid over the second half of the season. It's still, if you look at the metrics, look at the numbers, it still looks solid, but he slid from where he was around midpoint of the season. And one of the big issues he has is pressure. 117th in EPA under pressure this season. He has not been good under pressure. He needs the pocket to be clean. And then another weakness of the Alabama offense is their running game. 91st in EPA, 125th in success rate. This is the worst Alabama running game since probably before Nick Saban. It's terrible. You can argue they were missing their top 2 backs against Georgia in the SEC championship game, but it doesn't really matter. Jam Miller and was it Daniel Hill that were out? They're not making plays. It wasn't Daniel Hill, it was the other running back, but they're not making plays like that. These guys aren't killing on the ground this season, so I don't think it really made a difference against a great Georgia Bulldog defensive front. So when you look at Alabama's offense, it's about passing. It's passing with Ty Simpson, the Bernard, and Ryan Williams, and just hoping everything else complements them enough. As long as he's got a clean pocket, complements that passing game enough. You look at Oklahoma, this is the best defense in the country to me. Elite pass rush, second in sack rate, 24th in pressure, top 10 in overall pass defense efficiency, right? 12th in success rate, 6th in EPA. And then is this the best run defense in the country? Number 1 in success rate and stuff rate. So you're looking at the best defense in the country, in my opinion, going against an Alabama offense that they've kind of whipped twice in the last 365 days or so, right? They whipped Alabama last year in Norman, gave up 3 points. and they whipped Alabama in Tuscaloosa as far as they were forcing turnovers, and they were making enough big defensive plays to prevent Alabama from winning that game. So I don't really see much issue on the Oklahoma defense. They do give up some chunk plays every now and then on the back end if you can keep your pocket clean, but that's about it when it comes to the Oklahoma defense. All right, flipping it to the other side. Alabama's defense is similar to the offense. It's about passing, right? They can stop the pass, right? They stop explosives, top 5 in the country. Yards per attempt allowed, 14th in the country. This is still very strong pass defense. They're veterans back there on the back end for them. But they're just okay on the run. 41st in success rate. They were actually worse against the run earlier this season. They've kind of improved as the season's gone on, though that might have been competition. But their run defense is vulnerable to chunk plays. 83rd in explosives this year, high impact run plays. So they can give up explosives. They'll give up, regular run plays and keep an offense on schedule, so to speak, right? And just an average stuff rate of 18.2%. And then on top of that, low pressure rate. So really, it's just the whole front seven. The trenches for Alabama, I think on both sides of the ball, they're not really getting any push in the run game. They can't really, running backs also can't really run the rock. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they're not getting any pressure on the quarterback. And the defensive front gets pushed back. You flip it to Oklahoma and just call it what it is. If you were to call Oklahoma's offense mediocre, that might be a stretch, right? Ever since Mateer's come back from the injury, he doesn't look the same. I don't know if it's the injury or not, but he doesn't look good. But he is a dual threat. He has 400 yards rushing this season. I've seen Xavier Robinson have some moments this year against top 25 teams this year. He's rushed for 300 yards at 6.4 yards per carry. So maybe you give him the ball a little more, maybe let him get in the groove. Maybe you have something with Xavier Robinson running the football, but overall, weak run game, 115th in stuff rate, 105th in EPA. Nothing's happening there, not leading to any points with the run game. Pass game, 104th in yards per attempt. Mateer, 60% completion percentage, 122nd in explosive plays. They're not hitting big plays down the field. They're not hitting short yard slants that are taking off for big chunks. And again, they're not getting anything on the ground, any big plays on the ground. They're really relying on their defense, forcing short fields, getting styles, forcing 3-and-outs, special teams to put them in position to score some points. So you got a weak Oklahoma offense going against an Alabama defense that I think is vulnerable in some spots. All right, so then how do I think this game is going to play out? This is the third time these guys played in roughly 365 days or so. Oklahoma's won the first two. They won in Norman last year, 24-3. Jackson Arnold, of all people, ran for 200 yards in that game. Alabama didn't look like they even knew the read option was coming. Then this year, revenge, but not really, right? Because Oklahoma's defense is just that good, and I believe just much more physical than that Alabama offense is. Turn the ball over a bunch of times. OU got 17 points off of turnovers. Without that, though, Alabama probably wins that game 21-6. So you could make that argument. You could also make that argument that while OU forced 3 turnovers, they probably could have had about 5, right? There was a pick that was called back for a penalty and a fumble that an Oklahoma player goofballed up and then rolled out of bounds. So you can make the argument on both sides. Me, though, I look at this game. I just think Brett Venables knows how to defend Kalen DeBoer. I just think this Oklahoma defense is that good. And I think that Alabama shut down the running game of OU in the first one. But Alabama's run defense isn't really that strong. And Xavier Robinson can run in spots, right? He has had his moments. I think this is a game that if they give Xavier Robinson the rock, he might have some moments in this one to help get that get something out of that Oklahoma offense. Me, I like OU in laying the 1.5. I think this defense is going to swamp Ty Simpson. I think the Alabama offense has been sliding since midseason. It's sliding. They're getting a couple guys back from injury. Cuevas at tight end, Jan Miller at running back. But I don't think it's going to matter. It didn't matter the first time they played. Give me the Sooners laying the 1.5 at home in Norman Friday night. So anyways, if you like the content, please like, comment, subscribe. All of that, as you're going to see the quarterfinal games once we see this weekend play out. Take care.